Clev, a nice sort of milestone for you, equaling Jacko as WA based and all that. Are you pretty proud of that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not something you set out to do when you first start, but certainly to be equaling a legend of WA footy is very significant, and I understand that you know, the fact that our supporters and West Coast supporters would be equally, hopefully, proud that I'm sharing it with him for this weekend. And you know, certainly I remember growing up and watching a great centre half back, and obviously had the opportunity to play against him briefly, and then played with him and was coached by him in the International Rules Series as well. So there's a lot of synergies along the way, and certainly an achievement that I'm proud of.
In his prime, he would have been a tough player to line up on, I would have thought.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, everyone talks about the Carey-Jakovic matchups, and I remember, you know, as much as anyone watching them growing up and thinking, you know, what a wonderful one-on-one battle it used to be. And he probably is one of the only centre-half backs of that era that could say that he had the better of him, and of Carey, that is. And but it wasn't just Carey. I think, you know, showed his versatility towards the end of his career to go forward and snag a few goals, and a terrific player.
People say that it's too hard to play on this side of the Nullarbor and get to somewhere like 300, Matthew. What's your view on that? Does it take its toll?
Oh, it certainly takes its toll. Yeah, there's no question at all that, you know, the extra travel and the hours you spend with the physios and doing extra yoga down the beach, in the ice bars, you know, it's a real application to task the whole time to front up each week by virtue of how much we do travel. And it's just that accumulation really of fatigue throughout a football season, but obviously throughout a career as well. So, you know, there is some thought that, given that there's a lot of focus nowadays on recovering and making sure that, you know, the methods that are done throughout the week and managing players' loads are a bit better. So that, you know, maybe there's a bit more of a shift, given that there's that level of sports science now. But I think, you know, regardless, it will still be a challenge.
How is your body?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I think I've said for the last couple of years now, anyone that's played in the AFL for 13 or 14 seasons, I think, would have a level of things that they need to manage. And I'm no different to any other athlete in that scenario, but you know, touch wood, it stays the same for a few more years.
Last time we asked you about this, asked you about 300, and you said too far away.
Well, I think it still is. Well, look, I really do. I mean, as an athlete, it is negligent to look any further than the next game and the next moment. You know, it just becomes too hard a task to focus on anything else except for what's right in front of you. And you know, we're a great example of that at the moment. Our team itself, we obviously got some results in the next couple of weeks, but we just need to focus on that very next moment. And you know, obviously for us, that's running through the banner on Saturday afternoon, but it'll be when the ball bounces and when it's in your area, and all the things that we know it's important to keep focusing on. The bigger picture stuff, whether that's the 4 points this weekend or 300 games, it's negligent on an athlete's behalf to think any further than what's in front of you.
Pav, again, touch wood, spoke to Jacko during the week, and he says you've had the unbelievable ability to stay fit. What's been the secret to that, do you think, during this period?
I mean, the doctors and physios here at Fremantle, Ken Withers and Jeff Boy in particular, have been here throughout my whole time, and there's no question I wouldn't be able to have played many a game without their thorough support and guidance along the way. I owe a lot to them. You know, there's been a bit of luck along the way. I've played with a numerous amount of players that have walked in the door and just had injury after injury, and it's by no fault of their own, really. There is just a bit of bad luck, and so there's no question that's been the case with me. But I'm really proud of the fact that there's been a real application to task, as I sort of mentioned before, and you know, a real diligence with my training to, you know, do everything right throughout the week, dot every I, cross every T, and make sure that I get up week to week.
Are you playing your best footy? I mean, we see the goals, etc. Do you feel like you're playing some of your best footy? And it's hard to say when you've won 9 million best and fairest.
I find it really hard looking to comment on that. I think that's up to sort of external people to make those observations, and I feel as though I'm playing my role within the team, and clearly when you're playing forward and the ball's down there a bit more and the team's playing better, you're able to hit the scoreboard, and I'm an example of that over the past 5 or 6 weeks. But yeah, the overall sort of observations I'd like to leave to others.
Are you enjoying playing as a main forward?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I've played the majority of my career really as a major key up forward, and clearly played parts down back and in the midfield. But I think most people will observe, and I think even within the football club, that the best football I've played has been up forward, and it's certainly nice to get back down there. And really happy to be playing alongside Hayden Ballantyne, Chris May, and Kepler Bradley. You know, we've got a really solid group down there that's been together for some time, and probably in the last little period, Michael Walters coming back in and Matty De Boer swapping from on ball and forward. It's been great to have that group within a group.
Is that easier on your body too, Matthew, do you think?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you just look at the GPS sort of numbers, and that's probably the most subjective way to do it. So objective way to do it. By looking at those numbers, you can see that the metres per minute that a player runs up forward, and the toll on the body is a bit more in the midfield. So clearly at 6'4" and 98 kilograms, it's a bit easier to play there.
Do you think you're a better body-on-body player than you were the last time you played forward? You seem to shift players away from the fall of the ball more than perhaps you did.
Body on body is a really challenging one, I think, because clearly there's an element of strength, and I like to think I've always had that as a bit of an attribute, but there's a skill element to it as well, and the hands in the back rule, and there's probably been an adjustment over the last 4 or 5 years from my perspective on knowing how to use my strengths and adjusting to the rule changes. So I'm not sure if there's been a vast improvement, but there's been a better understanding.
400 games too for Freo, important to get a win for this club. Obviously, it's probably more important.
Yeah, look, it is great. It's important that we recognise that it is a milestone, 400 games, but it is like the individual milestones that come along. You certainly don't set out to sort of celebrate them. I know the supporters will be there tomorrow. A packed house at Patterson's will be great to see, and there'll be plenty of purple on, and we're really keen to get out there and get to work, and we understand that there are larger results and whatnot that are at place, but for us it's all about just ripping in and making sure that every moment we can play, our focus is on that next moment, and not worrying about what happens at the end of the scoreboard.
Aaron Sandland's named as emergency. Will we see him running out tomorrow?
I'm not sure. There's a couple of guys that still need to get through, the next 24 hours really before we run out. Hopefully he does get out there, but he's been out for a long time, and it's going to be left to the last minute to see what happens there.
Could he play as a forward, do you think?
Yeah, I think he can. Yeah, I mean, certainly we've played him that way at training at times, and you see how much of a handful he is down there for the opposition defenders. I think he certainly needs to work on a few areas of his forward play. Like everyone that goes into a newish position, they need to sort of understand the structures, and he does that well. But just being out there, that chemistry, and probably just needs to spend a bit more time there. But yeah, I think anyone of 6'11" and best part of 115, 120 kilos, he's a threat down there.
How much has the club changed since you arrived here late 1999?
Yeah, fair bit, yeah. Well, that would be an understatement, really, wouldn't it?
In what way most significant do you think?
Well, the most significant is that we're a pretty big club now. So 45,000 members. Off the field we're going really well. We've had some on-field success without it being sustained. It's a different place, and I'm really excited about what this next little period for us means, but I'm really excited about where the club is heading in the longer term, and I can stand here with real confidence and say that we're on the right track, and what will happen the next couple of weeks will happen, but I'm really confident that whether it's in my time or afterwards, that the club is certainly on the right track.